Every day, you're given a quiet invitation to become more of who you truly are, not the version shaped by the world's noise, but the version carved by intention, reflection, and growth. Improving your personality isn't about impressing others, it's about aligning with your inner truth. It's about shedding what no longer fits and stepping into what feels authentic. And that doesn't happen through perfection, it happens through presence. You are not here to be flawless, you are here to be real, to evolve, to embrace the layers of your journey, the lessons in your pain, and the wisdom in your silence. The most powerful transformation happens when you start showing up every day with the intention to be just a little more patient, a little more grounded, a little more conscious of how your energy touches others. The beauty of personality is that it's not fixed, it's fluid. You're allowed to outgrow old versions of yourself. You're allowed to change your beliefs, your responses, your approach, and you're allowed to do it gently, without apology, without performance, because growth is not something you owe to the world, it's something you owe to yourself. So take the pressure off trying to be perfect. Instead, commit to being present. Learn to listen deeply. Choose growth even when it's uncomfortable. Choose humility even when your ego wants to speak. Choose kindness even when no one's watching. These small daily choices shape something far more powerful than image. They shape your soul. And in the end, it won't be the titles you held, the looks you perfected, or the applause you received that define your personality. It will be the depth of your self awareness, the strength of your character, and the light you carried through every room you entered. That's the kind of personality the world never forgets. That's the kind of presence that doesn't fade. And that's the kind of person you have the power to become starting today. Improving your personality doesn't happen overnight. It's not about grand transformations, it's about consistent, intentional shifts. The goal isn't to wake up one day as a completely different person. The goal is to become just 1% better than who you were yesterday. That small step taken every single day creates momentum. It creates a rhythm of growth that becomes unstoppable over time. We often wait for the perfect moment to change, but perfection is a myth. The truth is, your growth begins the moment you stop waiting and start choosing to reflect instead of react, choosing to learn instead of complaining, choosing to be aware instead of operating on autopilot. And when you make these small choices daily, your personality doesn't just improve, it evolves into something deeper, more authentic, more aligned with who you truly are. You don't need to make the world notice you. You need to make yourself proud of who you're becoming. One more moment of patience, one more hour of reading, one more conversation handled with empathy instead of ego. These are the invisible victories that no one applauds, but they are the very foundation of a strong magnetic personality. Growth is not a loud process. It's quiet, it's humble, it happens behind the scenes in your thoughts, in your self discipline, in how you talk to yourself when you make a mistake. But over time, it changes everything. It changes the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you handle both praise and pressure. So don't underestimate the power of showing up each day with the intention to be just a little better. Those small daily choices are not small at all. They are sacred, they are life defining. Because that 1% you invest today might be the reason you become unrecognizable in the most beautiful way tomorrow. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, the ones who truly stand out are those who choose to listen. Real strength is not in how much noise you make, but in how deeply you observe. Every person you meet, every situation you face carries a lesson. If you're still enough to receive it, improving your personality every day doesn't just mean becoming a better speaker, it means becoming a better observer of life, of people, of yourself. Most people listen to respond, few listen to understand, and even fewer observe without judgment. But when you slow down and truly pay attention to the tone behind someone's words, to the silence in between sentences, to the emotion hidden in the small gestures, you begin to understand things most miss. That level of awareness builds emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence builds a magnetic, grounded personality. People feel safe around someone who listens. They open up to those who don't interrupt, who don't dominate the conversation, who offer space instead of advice. And when you develop the ability to simply be present without needing to fix or control, your presence itself becomes healing. If you want to elevate your personality, start observing more and reacting less. Watch how people behave when they're under pressure. Pay attention to what triggers you. Notice how your body responds in different environments. Life is always trying to teach you something through every argument, every failure, every uncomfortable silence. And if you're willing to listen with your eyes, your heart, and your intuition, you'll grow in ways that no book or mentor could ever teach. Because wisdom isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers through awareness. And the more you listen, the more refined and grounded your personality becomes. Some of the most powerful, graceful, and magnetic personalities are not shaped by ease, but by adversity. The people who faced pain and didn't let it harden them, those are the ones who walk with depth in their eyes and wisdom in their words. Life will break you open, that's inevitable. But what you do with that brokenness is what truly defines your personality. Pain can turn you bitter, or it can turn you aware. It can make you guarded, or it can make you kind. The choice is always yours. Every challenge you go through, every betrayal, every failure, it's not just a test of strength, it's an invitation to evolve, to deepen your empathy, to soften your heart, to rise from what was meant to destroy you. And when you rise like that, with more understanding, more compassion, more peace, you carry an energy that cannot be faked. Improving your personality every day means not hiding your scars, but learning from them, not pretending everything is perfect, but allowing your growth to speak louder than your wounds. You become someone who can hold space for others because you've learned to hold space for yourself. Someone who listens differently, who sees people beyond the surface, who loves with a maturity that only experience can teach. So don't resent your pain, refine yourself through it. Let it expand your spirit, not shrink your soul, because the most unforgettable personalities are born not just from charm or intelligence, but from resilience, from the decision to remain soft in a world that tries to make you hard. That's where real power lives, not in avoiding the fire, but in rising from it with more grace than before. We often mistake humility for weakness, but in reality, it is one of the strongest and most attractive traits a person can possess. Humility doesn't mean shrinking yourself or playing small. It means being so secure in who you are that you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. When you know your worth, you don't need to shout it. When you're truly confident, you make space for others to shine too. Improving your personality every day starts with understanding that arrogance blocks growth, but humility invites it. The moment you believe you know it all, you stop learning. But when you stay curious, when you allow yourself to listen, to receive, to reflect, you begin to evolve in ways that ego will never allow. Humility opens the door to wisdom. It allows you to see others clearly, and more importantly, to see yourself honestly. Kindness and humility are not signs of weakness. They're the quiet signs of someone who has fought their inner battles and come out stronger. They speak of someone who doesn't need to compete because they've already won peace within themselves. And that kind of peace radiates through every conversation, every interaction, every room you enter. So, if you want to elevate your personality, don't focus only on appearing powerful, focus on being grounded. Be the one who listens more than they speak, the one who lifts others instead of seeking attention, the one who doesn't need the spotlight to feel whole. In a world obsessed with being impressive, be someone who's deeply impactful. Humility isn't a lack of confidence, it's the height of it, and that's what makes a personality unforgettable. The way you treat others when no one is watching is one of the truest reflections of your personality. It's easy to be kind when it's convenient. It's easy to be respectful when it benefits you. But your real growth begins in the quiet moments, in how you speak to the waiter, how you handle someone's mistake, how you respond to someone who can do nothing for you. That's where character is built. That's where your personality deepens. We live in a world that praises image over integrity, but the ones who truly stand out are those whose actions remain consistent, whether they're being seen or not. There's something incredibly powerful about someone who leads with grace, even in private, someone whose kindness isn't performance, but principle. When your values guide your behavior, not your ego, you begin to radiate something deeper than charm. You begin to exude character, improving your personality every day doesn't require dramatic shifts. It requires simple acts of alignment where your inner values match your outer actions. Speak with kindness even when you're irritated. Offer help even when it's not acknowledged. Choose compassion even when it's not deserved. Because in doing so, you don't just uplift others, you refine who you are. Your personality becomes unforgettable not through showmanship, but through integrity, through the way people feel after being in your presence, through the silent strength of being someone others can trust without pretense, without agenda. That's the kind of growth that doesn't fade with trends or time. That's the kind of personality that leaves a mark. One of the most transformative decisions you can make to improve your personality is to start valuing growth over approval. The moment you stop shaping your identity around what others expect and start shaping it around who you truly want to become, everything changes. Approval is fleeting, growth is eternal. Chasing likes, applause, and validation will only keep you trapped in someone else's definition of who you should be. But choosing growth, even when it's uncomfortable, makes your personality powerful from the inside out. The truth is, not everyone will understand your evolution. Some will resist it, some will question it, and that's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to evolve. And every time you choose progress over people pleasing, you're building a personality that's not only grounded but unstoppable. It's easy to stay in the comfort of being accepted, but real development begins when you're willing to stretch beyond your limits, when you're brave enough to challenge your habits, when you care more about becoming better than being liked. The people who inspire us the most aren't the ones who played it safe. They're the ones who chose truth over comfort, elevation over approval. So, if you want to grow your personality every day, begin by asking yourself, am I living for growth or for applause? Am I choosing what nourishes me or what entertains them? Because your personality becomes powerful when it reflects your journey, not your performance. When it reveals your truth, not your need to be accepted. Growth will cost you comfort, but it will reward you with depth, clarity, and a presence that doesn't need to speak to be felt. We often underestimate the power of presence. We chase perfection in how we look, how we speak, what we wear, but the real transformation in personality begins when you master how you show up. It's in your energy, your attentiveness, the way you listen without interrupting, the way you enter a room with stillness instead of noise. Presence is not about being the center of attention, it's about holding your ground in silence, in awareness, in calm confidence. Improving your personality daily means becoming conscious of the way your energy affects others. Do people feel safe around you? Do they feel heard, respected, valued? That's presence, that's influence. You don't have to say a word to leave an impact because your presence speaks before you do. And when it's rooted in self awareness, it becomes unforgettable. The greatest personalities aren't just interesting, they're intentional. They know when to speak and when to pause. They know how to read the moment, not just react to it. You become magnetic when you learn to be rather than constantly do, when your presence calms the storm instead of feeding it. You become someone people remember, not for how you looked, but for how you made them feel. So, as you grow each day, ask yourself not just what you're saying, but what you're being, because presence is the silent language of a refined personality, and it speaks volumes without ever raising its voice. We've been conditioned to believe that confidence is loud, that it's found in the person who dominates the room, speaks the most, or shows off the loudest success. But real confidence doesn't need to be announced. It's felt, it radiates silently through your energy, your choices, and your inner calm. The people with the most magnetic personalities are rarely the loudest. They're the ones who carry quiet certainty in who they are. When you stop seeking validation, you start living from a place of truth. You're no longer acting to impress, you're just being. That's where real power lives, in authenticity, not performance. It's not about having all the answers or being perfect. It's about being real, grounded, and self assured without needing applause. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs more presence. When you're rooted in who you are, you don't have to chase approval, compete with anyone, or prove your worth. That kind of inner peace sharpens your personality more than any curated image or polished speech ever could. So every day, remind yourself that you don't have to speak louder to be heard. Just speak truthfully. You don't have to demand attention to be noticed. Just show up with clarity, with calm, with the kind of quiet that carries weight. Confidence isn't how big you look on the outside, it's how deeply you believe in yourself when no one's looking. That's the kind of personality that leaves a lasting mark. Improving your personality every day begins with understanding one powerful truth. You are not stuck with who you were yesterday. Who you are is not set in stone. It's a canvas constantly being painted by the choices you make. People often think personality is inherited or permanent, but it's not. It's a reflection of your habits, your mindset, and your inner story. Every time you choose courage over fear, patience over anger, or empathy over judgment, you're refining who you are becoming. You don't need a grand transformation. That's the myth. The real evolution happens in the smallest, quietest moments. The decision to wake up a bit earlier and read something that feeds your mind, the willingness to apologize when your ego wants to be right, the courage to speak your truth even when your voice shakes. All of that shapes your personality more than you realize. What truly defines someone isn't the past they carry, but how they show up today, how they respond, grow, and elevate others. Every day is a chance to break away from old patterns that no longer serve you and create a version of yourself that feels more aligned with the person you admire deep inside. You're not here to stay the same. You're here to rise. You're here to reflect more grace, more wisdom, more depth with each passing day. So, if you want to improve your personality, begin by treating each day as a brushstroke on the masterpiece that is your life. The more intentional you are, the more extraordinary you become, not in the eyes of the world, but in the mirror of your soul. Improving your personality isn't about changing who you are, it's about uncovering who you've always been beneath the fear, the insecurities, the noise of the world. It's not a destination you reach one day and then you're done. It's a practice, a choice you make every single day, silently, consistently, deliberately. It's in the way you speak to yourself when nobody's watching. It's in the way you walk into a room with grace, not arrogance. Power isn't about volume, it's about presence. We often believe personality is something you're born with, but truthfully, it's something you sculpt like a statue from the raw stone of your experiences. Every word you choose, every reaction you manage, every boundary you enforce. That's you sharpening your character. One of the greatest lies is thinking that confidence is loud. Real confidence whispers. It doesn't compete, it doesn't prove, it simply is. When you begin to seek growth more than approval, you'll realize you're building a personality that demands no validation. People are drawn to those who are deeply comfortable with themselves, who carry quiet certainty in their steps. That kind of personality isn't accidental, it's earned. Start becoming someone whose presence leaves people better than before. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you've done the work to heal, to learn, to listen. Humility isn't weakness, it's strength, disguised as kindness. Speak less, observe more. Every interaction teaches you something about the world and even more about yourself. Your personality isn't built on how many followers you have, but on how many people feel seen when they're with you. And if you can master the art of truly seeing others, of making them feel heard, your personality will carry a magnetic force that no outer image can match. The people with the most beautiful personalities are often the ones who've been broken but didn't let the pain turn them bitter. Instead, they used it as fuel to understand themselves and others better. That kind of growth doesn't show on your face, but it shines through your soul. So wake up every day with the intention to be just 1% more aware, more present, more grounded. You don't need to change everything overnight, but you do need to start, because the world doesn't need more copies. It needs more people willing to show up as their most honest, most evolved, most soulful self.